I still remember the way the motel mirror caught my reflection, smeared, half-lit, and ashamed. The red imprint on my neck had not faded yet. My lipstick was smudged. The room smelled like sweat and sin, like things that could never be taken back. My hands trembled as I buttoned my blouse, and when I picked up my wedding ring from the nightstand, it burned into my palm like a hot coin from hell. An hour later, I stood at the stove in my own kitchen, cooking Mark's favorite, seared ribeye with mashed potatoes, the scent of garlic and rosemary masking the memory of another man's touch. When Mark came in through the door and wrapped his arms around me, whispering, "This smells amazing, baby," my body flinched before I smiled. I stirred the potatoes. And I lied with my silence. Before I take you deeper into this story, I just want to say, thank you to everyone who has subscribed to this channel. You have no idea how much your support means. And if you are new here, welcome. If you have not yet subscribed, please consider it. Your one click is the fuel that keeps stories like this coming. I cannot wait to read your thoughts in the comments. Now, let us begin. The motel room was not even nice. That made it worse, somehow. Beige walls. A faded quilt. Dim lighting. The kind of place people came to when they did not want to be remembered. When I walked out of there, my legs ached, not from the thrill, but from the shame. Ethan did not walk me to my car. He never did. That was part of our arrangement. What we did stayed in that room. What I carried home was my burden alone. I drove in silence, the highway blurring past. Every traffic light felt like a judgment. Every car I passed felt like it knew. My phone buzzed once. It was Mark. "Need anything from the store before I come home?" "Love you. Love you." That stung. He had no idea. I reached home just before sunset. Our little two-story house in a quiet neighborhood with trimmed hedges and flagpoles. The porch light blinked on as I pulled into the driveway. From the outside, I was the picture of a normal suburban wife. Inside, I washed my face. Changed my blouse. Sprayed perfume to hide what soap could not. Then I got to work in the kitchen. I seasoned the steaks. Boiled the potatoes. Chopped garlic until my fingers reeked of it. Cooking had always been my therapy. But tonight, it was my punishment. Mark walked in humming to himself, briefcase slung over one shoulder. He looked tired, the kind of tired that came from trying too hard. He kissed my cheek, not noticing how I stiffened. He said something about a client, about traffic, about how he wanted us to watch that documentary I liked after dinner. I nodded. I kept cooking. As we sat down to eat, I watched him take the first bite. "This is amazing, Sarah. You really outdid yourself." I smiled and told him it was nothing. But inside, something twisted. He was grateful. And I was guilty. I stared at his hands. They were rough from years of fixing things around the house himself. The same hands that held me gently every time I cried about feeling stuck. The same hands that reached for mine under the table when we argued and then made up. He had no idea those hands were now touching a woman who was not whole anymore. We talked about Ava, her drawing from kindergarten, her growing obsession with dinosaurs. I asked him how therapy went last week. He said it felt good. That he was learning how to show up more. He was fixing our marriage while I was breaking it. I excused myself from the table and went into the bathroom. I stared at my reflection again. The same woman from the motel mirror stared back. Only now, she was dressed in a housewife's sweater and pearl earrings. I touched the spot on my neck where Ethan had kissed me like he owned me. I touched the same spot where Mark used to kiss me when he came home late. Two men. Two worlds. One body. The guilt should have stopped me the first time. It should have ended with one mistake. But the truth is, it did not feel like a mistake when I was with Ethan. It felt like escape. Like oxygen. Like someone finally saw me beyond motherhood, beyond responsibility, beyond the cracks in the perfect wife I pretended to be. But here is the thing no one tells you about secrets: they do not stay quiet forever. They grow roots. They find their way into everything. That night, I laid next to Mark in bed. He was already asleep, breathing slow, one hand over his chest like a man at peace. I watched him for a long time. And all I could think was, how long could I keep pretending? How long before the truth came to dinner uninvited? The lie started to grow legs. By the end of that week, it had already built a home in my head. It followed me from the kitchen to the grocery store, from my laptop to the school drop-off line. Every time Mark smiled, every time Ava called out, "Mommy, come see this," something in me tightened. Guilt, I thought, should fade over time. But this was different. This was rot, and it was spreading. It began to show in my sleep. I would wake up sweating, heart pounding, unsure if I had said something in my dreams that gave me away. I avoided eye contact during dinner. I spent longer in the shower. I smiled too hard at church. The mask was starting to crack, but I kept holding it up. Ethan messaged me again that Friday afternoon. Same place. Same time. I stared at the text for a long while. My thumb hovered over the screen. He always made it feel so simple. And maybe it was, for him. But for me, the weight of the yes grew heavier with every reply. Still. I typed it anyway. Yes. I told Mark I had a client meeting in downtown Cincinnati. He kissed me on the forehead and told me not to stress. You have been working hard lately. I am proud of you. Proud. That word sliced deeper than he knew. Ethan was waiting when I arrived, leaning against the hood of his truck with that smirk that always stirred something reckless in me. We did not speak much. We never did. That was the rule. Motel Room 7. Cheap soap. Familiar betrayal. But this time, something felt off. As we dressed after, Ethan looked at me differently, like he was seeing something beyond just skin. He tucked in his shirt slowly, watched me fumble with my wedding ring. You keep doing that, he said. What? Taking it off like it means nothing. But I see your hands shaking every time. I hated that he noticed. I hated more that he was right. I left without saying goodbye. I drove with the windows down, trying to let the wind erase what just happened. But the moment I turned onto our street, I saw it. Mark's car was in the driveway. Too early. He was not supposed to be home yet. My stomach dropped. When I stepped inside, I found him at the table, holding my laptop. His face was pale. His eyes were different. And I knew. Your email was still open, he said. I saw the messages. Ethan. The room numbers. The excuses. I froze. He stood, stepped back from the table like it might bite him. I have been here. Trying. Showing up. And you. You were gone long before you ever left this house. I could not breathe. Everything I rehearsed, the excuses, the denials, vanished. I do not know why I am not yelling, he said. I just feel hollow. Like something died and I am only now seeing its bones. Ava's laughter echoed from upstairs. She had no idea her world was about to tilt. Mark looked at me one last time. I am going for a walk. When I come back, I need you to decide. Is this house your home, or your cover? The door shut gently. But the sound felt like thunder. I sank to the floor, my heart pounding louder than any silence I had ever heard. I sat on the cold floor of our kitchen for almost an hour after Mark walked out. No tears. No thoughts. Just silence and the low hum of the refrigerator, reminding me that life, despite everything, was still moving. I had built this mess one decision at a time. Not a single act, but a pattern. A slow fade of loyalty. Of love. Of truth. When I finally stood up, the chair where Mark sat just moments before felt like a monument to everything I had lost but still pretended to have. I walked upstairs to check on Ava. She was tucked into her blankets, a soft cartoon humming from her tablet. She looked up and smiled, completely unaware that her world was already bleeding. I kissed her forehead, then went into the bathroom. And that is when the mirror finally spoke. I looked at myself. Really looked. Not the woman with styled hair and practiced smiles. Not the mother, not the wife. Just the woman. Alone. I whispered out loud, "Who are you?" My reflection did not answer. But I knew. I was the woman who cooked dinner with another man still on her skin. I was the woman who traded a loyal husband for $5 motel linens. I was the woman who once swore she would never be this woman. I walked into our bedroom and opened the drawer where I kept my journals. I started writing. Not to confess. Not to explain. But to finally confront. Mark returned that night. He did not speak when he walked through the door. He did not yell. He just looked tired. Heavy. Like he was carrying the pieces of our life in both hands and was no longer sure where they fit. I met him in the hallway. "I do not expect forgiveness," I said. "But I need to tell the truth." We sat in silence for a long time. I told him everything. How it started. Why I did it. The numbness. The selfishness. The mistakes I could never take back. Mark listened without interrupting. Then, softly, he said, "You loved being needed. And you stopped seeing I needed you most." I broke. Right there. On the floor between our bedroom and Ava's door. And he just let me. That night, we did not make any decisions. No ultimatums. No dramatic exits. We just shared a bed, back to back, like strangers in the same storm. Weeks passed. I cut off Ethan. Completely. No explanation. No closure. He did not deserve one. Mark started therapy. Alone. Then, eventually, we went together. Some days he hated me. Some days he did not speak. And some days he would bring me coffee and say, "This does not mean I forgive you yet. It means I am still here." We told Ava only what she could understand. That mommy and daddy were trying to love each other better. That sometimes adults make mistakes. But families can heal if hearts are willing. It was not easy. It is still not. But there is something sacred in being seen at your worst and still given space to grow. 1 year later. I do not look in the mirror the same way anymore. Because the mirror no longer mocks me. It reminds me. Of ruin. Of reckoning. And somehow, of redemption. I still cook dinner. Most nights, Mark joins me. Some nights we talk. Some nights we just eat. But every night we show up. And sometimes, showing up, is the bravest thing love ever does.